Hello and welcome back to another episode of Math with Dr. War. Today I have a video on functions where we're going to be identifying the domain and range if you are given a graph. Let's begin. When we say domain, we're looking for any of those values on the graph that lies on your x-axis. And when we look for range, we're looking for all those values that are on the y-axis. If you understand that domain represents x and range represents y, you can kind of eliminate some of your incorrect answers, usually two of them. In this first question, it states, what appears to be the domain? And remember, domain means we're looking for those x values of the part of the exponential function graphed on the grid. So right away, because they said domain, I can go to my answers and I can eliminate all of those that have a y. So I'm going to eliminate B and I'm also going to eliminate D. Now remember, domain deals with the part of your graph that represents your x values. Here I notice that my graph, which is a line, has two endpoints. Notice here that both of the endpoints are closed circles. And we all know if it has a closed circle that your inequality is going to have a line under. Now when you look at A and you look at C, they all have the line under. Now, because it's the domain, we're going to be looking at those x values. So starting at my graph here, I'm going to find the corresponding x value. So if I come down, notice I'm starting at -1 and I'm ending, when we go down here, to a +3. A is our answer. Notice that A is between the -1 and the 3. In mathematics, this is read, x is greater than or equals to -1, but is less than or equals to 3. So your answer is between -1 and 3. So it has to be greater than or equals to -1. However, it has to be less than or equals to 3. Let's look at question 2, which states function f is graphed below. So we have function f, it's a line graph, and it says, what is the range? Now when I see that word range, I know range is looking at all of those values on your y-axis. So if I glance into my answers, I'm going to eliminate all of those that have an x. You see here, this has x and this has x here. Your answer is not A, and it's certainly not B. Range deals with your y-axis, so your answer must have a y. Again, we're going to look to see where your graph starts and where your graph ends, and we're also going to look at your endpoints. Our first endpoint is closed. If it's closed, you should have the line under. I'm going to go across and find out what is that y value. It's -3. You have the y in the middle. Let's look at the second endpoint. Notice it's an open circle. If you have an open circle, then you're just looking for your less than. There should not be a line under. So you should have a symbol like that. And then what is this value on the y-axis? So if I go across, that's a +3. So if we look here at C, this does not have the line. Notice that your minimum, or let's say your smallest point, was a closed circle. So you should have that line under. We don't see that here. So your answer is not C. Your answer is D. Question 3. A part. Now we don't have an actual line, we have part of a line. So it says a part of an exponential function f is graphed on the grid. Which inequality best represents the domain. So again, domain represents X. If you look in your answers, we can eliminate B and we can eliminate D. Now notice that your graph does not have two endpoints. It has a beginning, but here, which is very important, notice you have an arrowhead. That arrow means that your line is going to keep going. So your answer is going to be X. Remember, we're looking for the domain, so I'm going to come down. What is the starting point for my X value? For my graph is -2. Now notice A says 1, a positive 1. That is not where the graph starts. Your graph actually starts at -2. So your answer is C. Always remember, look at your line. Your line is going this way. So if you're starting at -2, your next value here is -1, then 0, and then 1. So what is happening? It is increasing. So that's why your inequality symbol would be a greater. Question 4 looks similar to question number 3. It says the population of Center City is modeled by exponential function f, where x is the number of years after the year 2015. The graph of f is shown on the grid. So here's our graph here. Here's the title, City Center. The population is on the y-axis, and the time after years is on the x-axis. Which inequality best represents the range of f in this function? Now when they say range, you know we're looking for the y value because we're going to be on the y-axis. If you go to your answers, you can eliminate A and you can eliminate C. Now when I look at my graph, notice right here you have an arrowhead. Because you have that arrowhead, it means that your line is going to keep going infinitely, which means that you're not going to have a start and a stop. So because of that, I can eliminate D, and my answer is B. So again, we want the range. Here's where we're starting. Notice this is on the y-axis. This value is between 200,000 300,000. It looks like it's in the middle, so you're starting at 250,000. Notice your line is increasing. So notice here you're at 250. Here you're a little bit over 300. This is 400,000. So it's increasing, which means then that this has to be greater than or equals to. But I didn't need to do that. Once I saw the arrowhead, I knew that I did not have boundaries where I was starting and stopping, and could have chosen B as my answer. It says here a part of a linear function g is graphed on the grid. We have a start and a stop, so you're going to have a starting point and an end point. And it says which inequalities best describe the domain. Remember, domain would be x, and also we want the range, which would be y. So we have to find the domain and also the range. So if we start with our domain, which is on the x-axis, I notice that right here at my starting point, the circle is closed. If the circle is closed, it means that I'm going to have a less than or equals to. So I have to have that line under. And where are we starting on the x-axis? I'm going to go up. Notice I'm starting at -7. So this would be -7. I have my inequality symbol. X is in the middle. Here, this is the ending point. I notice that it's closed. If it's closed, it's also going to have the line under. Now, where are we ending for our x? So I'm going to draw a line down to touch the x-axis, and I'm touching it at 6. So my domain is from -7 to 6, and I have to have that line under. Okay, this says -4. This has -7, and then it ends at 6, but the inequality signs are incorrect. So we can eliminate G, H, incorrect. So our answer is J. So we got our answer just by finding the domain. If we want to find the range, which is the Y, again, the circles are closed, so you're going to have the inequality signs with the line under, but we're going to have to find the value on the y-axis. So starting here, I'm going to go across to touch my y-axis. It starts at -4. And it ends, so here's where it ends. I'm going to go across and touch my y-axis. It ends at a +5. And notice here the range is from -4 to +5. Again, in mathematics, this is red. -4 is greater than or equals to g of x, but it's less than or equals to 5. I hope this was helpful, where you had to identify the domain and also the range of a function given a graph. These are high emphasis on your TAS exam. Good luck on your examination. And if you like the content, please subscribe, hit the notification button, and share the video with anyone who is trying to pass their TAS math test. Have a good day.